Alright, similar to the graded exit ticket, this comparing and ordering warm-up was a little bit of a struggle. So I'm going to go over each of these 5 questions, and then I'm going to give you a new version of this, and you're going to try again on that one. Alright, which number is the smallest? First thing I have to do is change everything into a decimal. 35%. Let's say you forget how to change a percent into a decimal. Decimals can help you with that. 35% of 1 is 0.35. Hopefully you remember, you're really just moving the decimal place 2 spots, or dividing by 100, but that turns into negative 0.35 either way. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. This scientific notation, I'm going to type the whole thing into Desmos just to show you. But essentially all we're doing is moving that decimal place back 1 spot. That negative 1 is saying make that number smaller by a power of 10. So it moves over by 1 spot, becoming 0.15. And then 1 divided by 6 is 0.16 repeating. All right, we are looking for the smallest. We have only negative numbers. So I'm really looking for which one looks like the biggest negative number. I'm just looking at the tens place, a 3 versus a 5 versus a 1 versus a 1. The biggest negative is my smallest number. 5 is the biggest, tens place. That has to be my smallest number. You might be thinking that 35 is bigger than 5, but we're just comparing one decimal place at a time. Just a 3 versus a 5. We really completely ignore this. Or if you need to, actually, I guess you could imagine this is 50 versus 35. All right, the next one, I'm changing all these decimals, and then I'm going to put them onto the number line. Negative 4 divided by 3 is negative 1.3 repeating. 220%, I'm moving that decimal place 2 spots. That is 2.2. That one's already a decimal. This, just like this, is telling me to move that decimal point. You're going to see the calculator actually can't do this one. So it's just going to repeat exactly what you had. But if you type in negative 1, you see we're moving the decimal place 1 spot. Negative 2, we move the decimal point 2 spots. Negative 3, move it 3 spots. Negative 4, it doesn't show you, but you're just going to move it 4 spots. So it's going to jump over the 1, and then we're going to create 3 zeros there. So it's 0, and then our 3 zeros, and then 1 6. Last one's going to be 1.83. I'm just going to show it, but 11 divided by 6 is 1.83 repeating. Now I can take these and put them on the number line. So negative 1.3, that is a smaller number than negative 1. It's not quite as small as negative 1.5. I'm just looking at that 5 versus a 3. So it's a bigger number. That means it's to the right of negative 1.5. So A is going to be somewhere in between those two. B is 2.2. So 2 and a little bit. It's not bigger than 2.5. It's going to be somewhere in between there. I'm going to say it's right there. Negative 0.20. So this is negative 0.5. It's halfway in between 0 and negative 1. Negative 0.2. It's not quite as small as negative 0.5. Oops, started writing the number. So C will be just to the left of 0, while D is going to be just to the right of 0. That is a very, very small number with 3 zeros. To start that number, that's very small. That's right to the right of 0. And then E, 1.83. Well, it's bigger than 1.5. It's not bigger than 2, so it's somewhere in between here. All right, moving to the back. Which symbol should be written in the circle? So we're writing either less than, greater than, or equal to. Well, we know they're not equal to each other. I'm going to compare one decimal place at a time. The tens place here is a 2. Tens place here is a 0. So this one looks bigger. It's a 2 versus a 0, but they're negatives. So that means it's actually the smaller number. Last two are the same idea. We're shading every number that's in between these two given numbers. So negative 4 to negative 2.5. We're looking for something that is bigger than this, but smaller than this. Might help to draw it on a number line, just so we could see it clearly. Negative 2.5 would be here. Negative 4 is there. So we're looking for things that are in between those two spots on the number line. The first decimal is negative 2.75. So negative 2.5 is here. Negative 2.75 is a bigger negative, making it a smaller number. That would be just to the left. That is a good option. Remember, this is instructions on where to move the decimal point. It's moving back one spot. It doesn't change it into a negative. It makes it into, oops, I almost wrote negative. Changes into 0.30. That's a positive number. It can't be squeezed in between two negatives. That one's out. Negative 4.5 would be just to the left of negative 4, so that one's out. That one's too small. And then the square root of 5 changed into a negative. That's negative 2.236. So negative 2.2 versus negative 2.5. Negative 2.5 is right there. Negative 2.2 is a smaller negative, so it's a bigger number. It would be just to the right, meaning it's outside that range, so that's out too. It's just that one. Same idea here. Negative 1.1. I'm going to put negative 1 on the number line. I'm going to put 0 on there. And I'm going to put 1. And I'm going to put my two numbers that it has to be in between. Negative 1.1 is there. And then 1/10 or 0.1 is right here. So I'm looking for things that are in between those two. Well, first thing I notice is that 0 is there, because I have a negative number and a positive number, so 0 has to be in between those two. This is telling me take that decimal point and move it 4 spots to the left. 1, 2, 3 zeros are created there. And then the 1, 3. That's very, very tiny. That's smaller than this. So that decimal is going to be just to the right of 0. That's very small and positive. That's a good option too. Negative 20% is negative 0.2. So negative 0.2, it's not smaller than negative 1. It's definitely not bigger than 0. It's a negative. That would be right about there. That's another good option. And then 1% is a positive number. 0.01, a very small positive number. Smaller than 0.10. So it's in between 0 and that decimal or that fraction. That's also a good option. All right, I hope this helps as you go back to that second warm-up on comparing and ordering.